Today, Rick and I are going to talk about something that I've actually long been waiting for, the launch of Leica's M-EV1, and we're going to gripe about it a little bit. Well, hey everybody, it's Hudson, and I'm really lucky to have Rick with me here in the studio. We're back from our back-to-back Scotland workshops, getting over our jet lag, and we thought we'd record a little video about the launch of Leica's M-EV1.
Which you've been anticipating for quite a while.
I've been telling everybody in all of our workshops, I mean, the minute that they put an electronic viewfinder in an M camera with that amazing old glass, I'm excited about it. That's something I definitely want to explore. And then they launched it, and you know, I mean, true to Leica's form, they move slowly with their shifts. You know, I think the Q cameras that Rick and I both love. You know, it started with Elizabeth Brooks. Q2 in Costa Rica. She handed it to me during a macro session. I started playing around with it, and I started shooting people and landscapes, and I had to have one. The Q3 came out with 60 megapixel sensor, great image stabilization, a wonderful tilt screen, all the buttons remapped over to the right side where it's really convenient while you're shooting, a plethora of function buttons, you name it.
And then they came out with the 43.
The Q3 43, which was Rick's cup of tea because he's more of a 35 millimeter shooter when it comes to prime lenses. We've been extremely happy with them. My only complaint is that I can't slap a 50 or 75 millimeter lens on it and go to town with some of Leica's fabulous old manual focus M glass. Meanwhile, I've been shooting a lot of primes with my Nikon gear, and you've been shooting primes with your Sony gear. And I've really fallen in love with this Voigtlander 50 1.0 manual focus only spectacular lens. And part of the reason for it, you know, I originally reviewed this lens, I think I was using a Z8 or a Z6 II, I can't remember which, something that didn't have the latest and greatest thing that Nikon came out with. They released it with Nikon ZF, which is manual focus subject detection. And you know, I've reviewed that, I've done another video on that, you can click right here to see it. But what it means is that as you're looking through with a manual focus lens and you start manually focusing, it will see the eye of your subject or whatever subject you have chosen, wildlife, people, cars, whatever. It'll see that subject, it'll draw a box around the eye, and if you've programmed a button to zoom to 1:1, all I have to do is hit the OK button, whoop, it zooms in on the eye, I perfectly focus it, I half press the shutter button, I get back to a fit view, compose and shoot, and it's perfectly focused. It's like cheating.
It is cheating.
So much better than focus peaking or having a little box glow a different color. And you don't have to drive your focus point to the subject. It sees it automatically. Boop. You know, you can use wide area to direct it to one of several faces, different sized wide area focus points. I was excited and I thought to myself, wow, with Leica doing so much advanced stuff with the Q2, Q3, perspective control where it automatically corrects keystoning, all this stuff. They have so much technological prowess. They've got face detect on the Qs. If it could just show you the face and jump into the face, I figured they would probably do that. There'd be a button or a lever on the front to press and whoop, it would jump in and you'd see the face and you could manually focus that beautiful M glass and shoot, but that's not the case.
No, that's not the case.
So they released the M-EV1. And it has no subject detection. You've got to move, if you want to use zoom to focus, you've got to move your focus point over the subject or put it in the center and move over your subject, zoom in, focus, then recompose and shoot, which, you know, is doable. But there are several other flaws.
You would think that there would be a little bit better focusing aids for Leica with the EVF.
They have a lever on the front that looks like an old-time sort of self-timer lever, which cool, it's neat. And you can use that either to zoom into 1:1 or to activate focus peaking. But still, you know, that's not letting you automatically jump to your chosen subject's focal point to focus, which is a bummer. Even more importantly, though, it has no in-body image stabilization.
So how many times in the last 3 months or 4 months have we been looking at cameras, new cameras, that don't have image stabilization?
Yeah, the Fuji medium format, the rangefinder.
The Sony RX1
The Sony
Mark
RX1
III.
Mark III, yeah. And it's a shame
It is
because
a shame.
one of the things that I've been loving with my Nikons is the new 8 stops of in-body image stabilization on the Z6 III and the ZF. And I'm hand-holding waterfalls at 120 millimeters at a sixth of a second.
Yeah, we were in Scotland and we were telling people, go do this. Don't bring your tripod.
Right.
And they were getting amazing images.
And as I'm working with workshop participants, instead of dragging my tripod around, I'm shooting at, wonderful low noise production, 800 ISO, handheld, keeping it down to a sixth of a second in the landscape in low light and getting sharp, beautiful images handheld because I have that in-body image stabilization. It just kind of changes everything.
Yep.
I mean, I still love to use the tripod to shoot at base ISO when I have the time, but it lets me work side by side with workshop participants as I move between them handheld. And it opens up a world of handholdability.
Yep.
And, obviously with moving subjects, you need to worry about what shutter speed you're working with. If there's wind in the landscape, you have to think about those things. But the ability to work at such low shutter speeds handheld is amazing.
Yeah.
Or at lower shutter speeds with a longer lens.
And these guys have image stabilization.
They have image stabilization. I've heard people argue that to put image stabilization in the M body would make it too big. And I say, this body's a lot smaller than the M body, and the image stabilization is fabulous on this 60 megapixel sensor. So they clearly can do it. The other thing is not having any kind of a tilt screen. I love being able to get low. We were in Scotland, we were in Glasgow with Duncan, our good friend, and there was this beautiful puddle reflecting a building, and I saw Duncan getting really low with his RX1 Mark III.
Which has no flip screen.
Yeah, and I just went down and tilted my flip screen, and he was down low, trying not to get wet in the puddle, because he had to look through the viewfinder, or look at the back of the screen, and I just tilted and shoot, with it down on the ground. And I'm just crouched, looking down at it. If I want to shoot a scene up above, I can look at the screen and shoot that way. It's a really great thing.
It is, and it's essential, I think, to the way that we shoot now.
And I think there were some Leica-philes who were like, what, a tilt screen on a Leica? This is an abomination. I love it. The thing is, if you're moving into the realm where Leica has gone with the cues, with autofocus, with the in-body image stabilization, everything that this camera incorporates, which is highly technologically advanced.
With this amazing lens.
Yeah, I think that they, if they're going to move the M camera to a new brand that's the EV, that's a more technologically advanced camera. It should bring along some of the other technological advancements that they've learned from the Q, product chain.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, we've been talking a lot about the Sony for a while, and when Leica first came out with the Q, it was a serviceable camera.
Lower megapixel.
But
controls
it still had that great 28 millimeter 1.7 lens.
Unreal lens.
And the Q2 came out, and it was a significant improvement. And then it was the Q3. I remember having you got your Q3, and I'm playing with your Q2, and it's like, wow, the Q2 is amazing. But that camera is fantastic.
Well, yeah.
And, I kind of feel like just listening to you, watching some other stuff around the web, talking to people about it, it feels like Leica likes to move slowly on some of this stuff. And so maybe the Model 2 of this camera will be the one that we're all hoping for.
It might be.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say about it that just is a little bit of a bummer to me, it has the little D-pad on the back on the side where you can work with it with your thumb while you're shooting. But they keep the function button and the menu button and the play button over on the left where you really have to kind of move your other hand back to work with it.
Yeah.
It's so nice that they figured that out. Between the Q2 and the Q3, they moved the controls over to the right where your thumb can easily access them. And they haven't done that on the M camera. And the interesting thing about the M-EV1 is that it really mimics the look of the M11 and the M11P. And they've kept the controls identical, and they've kept the look identical. It doesn't have any function buttons up here next to the thumb rest, which are programmable on the Q camera. It doesn't have the button wheel that the Q has. I mean, it does have a command dial, and it has a function button up near the shutter button. But I mean, it really only has 2 function buttons, whereas this has really 4 programmable buttons. maybe even more if you start working with the menu button. But all in all, I just feel like I can't find myself ordering this camera, given that it doesn't have in-body image stabilization, manual focus subject detection, and a tilt screen. Those are just kind of game breakers for me, let alone the fact that the layout is just not as efficient as the Q cameras.
Yeah.
So I find myself sort of wishing that there was a Q75, and I think with a 60 megapixel Q28 and a 60 megapixel Q75, I think there could be times where that's the only two cameras I traveled with.
Yeah.
You know, and I know people get upset about the price of the Leicas, and they're so expensive, but if you look at the quality of the output from this lens and sensor combination, it is unique.
It is.
And if you look at the user interface, you know, our good friend Duncan, who we linked up with in Scotland, is a software engineer par excellence.
Yep.
And he says the only camera company doing it right now in user interface is Leica. This is an intuitive, simple to use, but very powerful user interface that I wish some of the other brands would have a look at and do some refinements to work toward. So I have high hopes that Leica will, you know, in the next 10 years, come out with an M camera that I truly have to buy. But this M-EV1 is not it. And I will stick to my Nikons with primes from companies like Voigtlander. I love this. You know, I often carry just a little pack with these two cameras, one of them out on my hip, on my sling, on my sling strap, one of them in the little pack, and I can trade them with the QD mount. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
You know, and that way I've got the 28 and I've got the 50, and maybe there's an 85 in the pack, you know, or a 24 to 120.
Yep.
Or both, depending on how big a bag. So it would be great for travel and family stuff particularly, just to have one M body that could have all the lenses. But for right now, it's the Q3 and whatever Nikon gear I want to carry.
Well, there you go.
There you go. So, Rick, you're headed home to LeGrand.
I am.
And you haven't been home in how long?
38 days.
Man. Wow. I was only gone for like 27 days, and it felt a little like forever with the kids and Stacy. So I am, while you watch this, I'll be off on spring break, actually, with my kiddos. So this
Thanksgiving break.
Or Thanksgiving.
Still a little bit of jet lag.
See, there's still plenty of jet lag. It is coming into winter here, not spring for a while. So Thanksgiving break with the kiddos, visiting grandparents. So I hope all of you are staying safe, staying creative, having fun with family, good food, and see you next week.